We'd read a lot about all sorts of different sources of heating and quite liked the idea of a rocket mass stove, or a rocket mass heater, sorry. So we'd like to put something like that in the house when we build it. So we thought we'd build a prototype version to heat our temporary accommodation. So this is it. Usually you would turn this into a bench, but we're actually going to have this whole thing below the floor. So you can see the frame there is showing you the level that the floor is going to be at, connecting the caravans. So this will be underfloor heating. So this is cob, and it's still drying out. You can make out it's slowly drying out from the barrel outwards.
So what's inside here then?
So right.
And why is it rocket mass?
It's nearly out of wood. I'll chuck a couple of bits in. So wood goes in there. Once that gets going. So wood goes in there. This is fire brick, and there's a channel going along to the middle of the barrel there. And then up a heat riser, again made out of fire brick. So as soon as you've got heat in that riser pulling up, it's sucking air down here and across. And so the fire, now that it's those new bits of lit, you can see the fire burning sideways rather than up. So in that heat riser, it gets hot enough, and there's some turbulence in there, that it burns all the smoke. So what should come out the exhaust of this will be just water vapour. All the smoke that you normally get when you burn wood recombusts inside this. So this gets very hot. It uses about 20% of the wood that you would put in a wood burning stove to give you the same amount of heat. And that efficiency comes from two different things. One, because it's burning the smoke, then you're getting more heat out of the wood that you put in there. But then the exhaust from this goes down the outsides of the barrel and along a pipe all the way along to the end.
So there's a pipe going through the cob?
There's a pipe going through the cob.
And what is that pipe made of?
Well, you can see the end of it there that we haven't cobbed yet. So that's just stovepipe, basically, 6-inch stovepipe. So it runs along, turns and runs along that way and exits the building, and then we have a chimney going up there. So there's enough force in this heat riser, this whole system, to push air all the way through that. So whereas a normal wood burning stove, your chimney goes up and most of the heat that you generate goes straight out the chimney. For this, well, on film you can't see, but that is pretty hot.
Yep.
Whereas by the time you're here, that's barely warm at all. So what's exiting is essentially steam at maybe 30 or 40 degrees, something like that. So not so much heat is lost. So the heat is trapped in this cob mass.
And what's underneath the cob? You've got fire bricks?
No, so we used, because we didn't want to just put it straight on the ground, we've put bricks across, going slightly downhill on the land with gaps between so that water can run through. Then we've put a tarp down to stop water getting to the cob. And I guess you can just see some of it here, but this is insulation board, because we don't want to lose our heat into the ground. We don't want to be heating the earth. So then on top of that, we've layered bricks and cob, and we've got the pipes going through, and we've just slowly built up the cob. So what you see here isn't really the final layer. Once we've got the floor down, we'll put a final layer of cob on so that we've got a nice level floor surface. That will be part of the floor.
So the cob will be floor.
Yeah.
The floor will be cob.
We might tile it. I'm not sure yet. But
and how much heat is being lost? Because that's not very warm at the moment. How much heat is being lost into the mass in terms of it evaporating out moisture that's in the cob?
Well, I think a fair bit at the moment. So it's still drying out. Once it's dry, it'll work better. It's not too hot yet because it's not been running too long. But the idea is that you would run it. You run it for a while. You're generating instant heat from the barrel, and you're heating up the cob. And then overnight, the cob will still be heating the area, even though the fire is no longer running. So, for us, with winter approaching fast in caravans without huge amounts of insulation, it's quite important not only to get heat, but to have heat that will continue heating us overnight.
Yeah, and the barrel itself as well. I suppose the more you insulate that, the more heat will end up in the cob.
I think for it to work, the barrel has to be exposed. So the heat riser goes up the middle.
Right, of course.
And then the smoke, comes up and down the outside of the heat riser. So this has to be radiating heat out to cause that suction for the air to draw down.
So what's the heat?
A bit more wood in.
Riser? What does that look like?
So I'll stick a bit more in because it is running out of wood. We should. So the heat riser is basically just a stack of bricks. So it comes up to about 2 inches below the top of this barrel. So it comes up to that height. So it's a square of bricks like this. So you can just see here, stacked all the way up to about that height. And then it's wrapped in insulation. So actually we've got some of the same insulation around the post there. We'll eventually box that in. But that keeps the heat focused in that riser. And that's important because you need this suction, you need the heat rising in there to suck the air in. And yeah, now that I've put a bit more wood in, you can see it sort of.
So it's essentially it's a tunnel that draws the flames through and up, and then the smoke spills out over the top.
Yeah.
And down into the pipe that then vents out.
Yep.
Fantastic.
And I can show you the outside, and you can see that we don't have wood smoke coming out, but rather we've got just steam coming out. And if you feel this, it's not warm at all. So that sound that you can hear, hopefully, that roaring, that's why they call it a rocket stove, because it makes a rocket-like sound, a low rumble.
And how much would it cost the materials to build this?
That depends what you can find. So we traded some of our pork for some disused bricks. We bought the fire bricks, and we needed 120 of those, which cost, I think it was about £150 for the bricks. But you can't build one of these out of normal household bricks. It gets too hot in there. They will crack and break. The clay we found on our land, so we dug the clay up. We bought in a dumpy bag of sand, which was about £40. So, yeah, a ton of sand, the clay from the land, the disused bricks from a deal, the fire bricks, I've said. You can find, for the barrel you need one that has no paint on it, or if it has paint on it, you need to know that the paint is not going to give off harmful fumes when it gets hot. So we've just got a bare barrel here, and we've got some stove paint that we will paint it with at some point. But you can pick barrels up on eBay for about £20. Then the most expensive part really is the stovepipe. So metre lengths are about £20 on eBay. If you look around, you'll find someone selling them. If you're lucky, or if you're patient, you'll be able to get, quite often people set up a wood stove, they buy too many pipes, they have one or two spare that they then sell on eBay for maybe £10 each, something like that. So
between £200 and £500, depending on what you can source from.
Yeah. Sounds about right. Then you've got to fuel it. So we're planting woodland on our land, but until that's matured, right now we've just bought in a load of wood, ready for this winter. Although we're going to look into alternatives. If we do end up growing hemp as part of what we're doing here to make hempcrete to build a house with and so on, hemp also is a good fuel, so we might be able to use it as a fuel for this.